The galaxy had known many conquerors, many civilizations who believed themselves to be the peak of evolution. Yet none were quite like Earth's warriors. The beings of Earth had always been underestimated, looked upon with disdain by the higher civilizations of the galaxy. For centuries, they were considered weak, insignificant creatures. It was a thought that the aliens shared with smug superiority, especially as the human race expanded, floundered, and fought among themselves. They had no idea what was coming. Earth was a planet of paradoxes. It was both ancient and young, fragile and resilient. Its inhabitants, though appearing weak by intergalactic standards, held a fire within them that no empire had yet witnessed. The human race, despite its many flaws, had survived war, plague, famine, and countless threats. And yet the galaxy's powers had always dismissed them. They called humans chaotic, uncontrolled, and often unpredictable in their decisions. But it was this very unpredictability that would soon prove to be their greatest weapon. The story began when a galaxy-spanning empire, the Thar Dominion, came into contact with Earth. The Thar were an ancient race, known for their advanced technology and unshakable order. They ruled vast swaths of the galaxy with an iron fist, their fleet unrivaled in firepower and efficiency. The Dominion had decided that Earth was a ripe target for conquest. The planet was located in a strategic sector, and its resources were abundant, but what truly made it desirable was its weak and disorganized state. The Thar Dominion believed that Earth's inhabitants would be an easy conquest, and so they sent their most feared fleet to lay waste to humanity. But they could not have been more wrong. It all began with a single ship. The Thar Armada was on the verge of deploying their invasion force, a fleet of thousands of ships capable of wiping out any resistance with ease. Their first objective was to establish a foothold on Earth. The humans, they believed, had no way of fighting back. Yet when the Thar fleet descended into Earth's atmosphere, they were met with resistance unlike anything they had ever anticipated. It started small, with the appearance of human resistance cells, barely equipped and underpowered. The Thar assumed they were merely pestilent nuisances, easily dismissed. But then they discovered that the humans were somehow managing to disrupt their advanced technology. The Thar's superior weapons and ships began malfunctioning for no apparent reason. Communications between their vessels became garbled. The once dominant fleet was now experiencing mysterious and dangerous anomalies. At first, the Thar believed it was sabotage, perhaps a result of interference from Earth's primitive technologies. But soon, the scale of the disruptions was too great to ignore. The human resistance was far more capable than anyone had imagined. The Thar had underestimated one key thing, the very thing they had laughed off as insignificant. The humans' ability to adapt, to innovate under pressure, and to fight in ways no other species could fathom. Then, the first major surprise arrived. A human warship, far outclassed by the Thar's fleet, appeared out of nowhere. The ship was old, a relic from an earlier age of space exploration, but it had been retrofitted and repurposed by the humans in ways the Thar could not understand. The ship's stealth technology, which should have been obsolete, proved to be just as effective as the latest advancements the Thar had. It was a ship designed for reconnaissance, but now it was hunting the invaders. The humans had learned to use their limited resources in unexpected ways, and they had created something that the Thar had not accounted for: ingenuity. The battle raged on in the skies above Earth, with the human ships using guerrilla tactics to take down far larger and more powerful Thar vessels. The humans were everywhere, striking from the shadows, using their unpredictable nature to sow chaos within the Thar ranks. Their weapons were crude compared to the Thar's, but they were no less effective when placed in the right hands. And the right hands were everywhere. As the human resistance grew bolder, and the Thar's technological supremacy began to erode, the invaders began to realize something terrible. They were losing. Their advanced weaponry was not enough to overcome the human will. The Thar had underestimated their enemy, and they could feel it. They had never faced an adversary like this before, an enemy whose greatest strength was not its technology, but its relentless, unyielding spirit. And that spirit was about to show them just how powerful the unseen force of Earth's warriors could be. The Thar Dominion's fleet was now in full retreat, but they were far from defeated. The retreat wasn't out of fear or respect for humanity's might. No, the Thar had something far worse in mind. They knew that their fleet's firepower could obliterate any one of Earth's cities, that they could scorch the very surface of the planet. They didn't need to win a war, they needed to break humanity's spirit. The Thar's first move was psychological. They began to target Earth's most symbolic and culturally significant cities, places where humanity's most treasured artifacts and history were housed. The first to fall was Paris, the City of Lights. The Thar unleashed a devastating barrage of plasma fire upon the city, turning landmarks into rubble and reducing centuries of human culture to ashes. Then came London, New York, Tokyo, and the rest of Earth's greatest cities, one after the other. The Thar had no mercy. The relentless assault was meant to prove to the humans that their resistance was futile. The message was clear: you can fight all you want, but we have the power to erase you from existence. But something unexpected happened. As the Thar's ships hovered over Earth, raining destruction down upon the planet, the human resistance began to grow stronger, not weaker. The devastation served as a rallying cry for people around the world. Every city that fell only spurred more citizens to rise up, to fight back. The survivors of the bombarded cities didn't cower in fear, they fought harder. New resistance cells sprouted overnight, their numbers growing exponentially as humans from all walks of life banded together to protect what was left of their world. The Thar could not comprehend it. They had calculated everything, prepared for every contingency, yet this human spirit, this unyielding desire to fight for survival, could not be measured or predicted. The Thar had never known what it was to lose everything and still have the will to fight back. It was this profound strength, the strength of humanity's will to live and to protect what they loved, that began to turn the tide. On Earth, the human leaders set aside their differences. Governments, once divided, united in the face of this existential threat. The global resistance was no longer fragmented or disorganized. The Thar's attack had inadvertently united humanity like never before. Earth's warriors were no longer just a handful of scattered fighters, they were now a singular, unified force, driven by the same purpose: survival. Human ingenuity, which had been underestimated before, now flourished in full force. Engineers and scientists, military tacticians and ordinary civilians alike, pooled their resources to create new weapons, new strategies, and new technologies. They studied the Thar's advanced systems and began to reverse engineer them. They infiltrated their communications and decoded their strategies. And with each victory, no matter how small, their resolve hardened. Meanwhile, on the front lines, Earth's warriors became something more than just fighters. They were becoming legends. Stories of their heroism spread like wildfire, inspiring not only those on Earth but also the few surviving colonies beyond the planet's orbit. It wasn't just about victory anymore, it was about something far more profound. It was about preserving the very essence of what it meant to be human. The Thar, meanwhile, began to feel the pressure mounting. Their fleet had been pushed back from Earth's orbit, and their advances were stalling. The human resistance had successfully turned the once helpless planet into a fortress, using every resource at their disposal to make Earth an impossible target to conquer. The Thar began to lose the confidence they once had in their technological superiority. But this was not the end. The Thar were not yet ready to admit defeat. They had one more card to play, one last act of desperation. They unleashed a weapon unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, a massive energy cannon capable of wiping out entire continents with a single blast. It was a weapon of unimaginable destruction, and it was aimed directly at Earth's core. The weapon was to be the final blow, the end of Earth and all its inhabitants. The Thar had calculated the damage, and they were sure it would work. Earth's warriors had no way of stopping it. Or so they thought. As the Thar prepared to unleash their ultimate weapon, Earth's warriors knew that their time was running out. The weapon, codenamed the Hammer of Annihilation, was an ancient Thar creation, something that had been hidden away for millennia, waiting for the perfect moment to be used. It harnessed the power of a dying star and concentrated it into a single, devastating blast capable of incinerating anything in its path. The weapon had been built to destroy entire planets, and now it was aimed at Earth. If it fired, Earth would be nothing more than a charred husk floating in space. But humanity wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. A small group of Earth's finest warriors, led by Commander Rachel Vance, had managed to infiltrate the Thar flagship where the weapon was housed. It was a risky mission, one that had no guarantee of success. But they knew they had no other choice. If they failed, Earth would be lost. Rachel Vance was no stranger to impossible odds. She had fought her way through countless battles, watched her comrades fall, and yet she still stood, a symbol of everything humanity had become. She knew that if Earth was to survive, it would be through the courage and ingenuity of its people. This wasn't just a fight for Earth, it was a fight for the very soul of the human race. The infiltration team had spent days aboard the Thar flagship, avoiding detection and sabotaging key systems along the way. They had learned the layout of the ship, deciphered its security measures, and found a way to bypass the Dominion's superior technology. It was no easy task. Every step forward was met with obstacles, Thar soldiers, complex security systems, and impossible odds. But the team pushed forward, knowing that humanity's last hope rested on their success. As they neared the weapon's core chamber, Rachel could feel the weight of the moment. The hammer of annihilation was only moments away from firing, and they had to act fast. But they also knew they couldn't destroy the weapon, they had to disable it. If the weapon was destroyed, there was no telling what kind of chain reaction might occur. It could trigger a massive explosion that would wipe out not just Earth but the entire solar system. They reached the core chamber, and the weapon loomed before them, a massive, ominous structure that hummed with raw energy. The air was thick with the sound of its power, a constant reminder of the destruction it could bring. But Rachel and her team didn't hesitate. They set to work immediately, placing the disruptors they had crafted from scavenged Thar technology along the weapon's energy conduits. Then, disaster struck. A Thar patrol, alerted by an unseen malfunction, found them. A firefight broke out in the heart of the ship, and the sound of weapons firing echoed through the chamber. The humans fought back with everything they had, using their guerrilla tactics and knowledge of the ship's inner workings to gain the upper hand. But the Thar were relentless. They had the advantage in terms of sheer firepower and numbers. Rachel's heart raced as she watched her team fight with all their might. She knew they didn't have much time. The weapon was almost ready to fire. The Thar soldiers were closing in, and her team was slowly being overwhelmed. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Rachel couldn't let herself think of failure. She couldn't let Earth fall, not after everything they had been through. In a desperate move, Rachel took a risk, one that she knew could cost her life. She charged at the central control panel of the Hammer of Annihilation, hoping to access its core and trigger the disruptors manually. The Thar soldiers were hot on her heels, but she didn't look back. Every step was a fight for survival, a fight for Earth's future. As she reached the panel, the last of her team fell back to hold off the Thar forces. There was no turning back now. With a final, determined push, Rachel accessed the panel and activated the disruptors. The weapon's power flickered, then sparked. A series of alarms rang through the ship, signaling that the weapon was malfunctioning. The Thar commanders aboard the flagship screamed orders, trying to regain control, but it was too late. The disruptors had done their job. The Hammer of Annihilation systems began to shut down. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a thunderous roar echoed through the ship as the Hammer of Annihilation overloaded, its power source collapsing in on itself. The Thar flagship trembled as if it were a living creature, groaning under the immense pressure. The humans had won, Earth had been spared. But there was no time for celebration. The ship was coming apart. Rachel barely had time to contact her team and issue a retreat order before the flagship's destruction began in earnest. It was a race against time. They had no way of knowing how much longer the ship would hold together, and every moment felt like an eternity. As they made their way to the evacuation pods, Rachel couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. They had done it. They had taken down the Thar's ultimate weapon. Earth's warriors had survived another day. But the war was far from over. The Thar were still out there, and Earth's warriors had proven that they could fight back. They had awakened something within themselves, a power that no empire could ever truly understand. The unseen power of Earth's warriors was just beginning to show its true strength. As the Thar flagship burned in the distance, its wreckage slowly falling toward the depths of space, the humans aboard their evacuation pods felt a fleeting moment of triumph. They had succeeded in preventing the destruction of Earth, but that victory came at a cost. The fight was far from over. The Thar fleet, though momentarily disabled, would soon regroup. The Dominion would not let Earth slip through their fingers so easily. Commander Rachel Vance and her surviving team members had barely made it to the escape pods when the flagship's destruction reached its peak. The energy from the weapon's catastrophic failure rippled outward, destabilizing the ship's core and causing massive explosions to tear through its outer hull. The evacuation pods, barely managing to escape the blast zone, now floated among the stars, separated from the chaos that had once been the center of their dominance. As they regrouped on a nearby space station, Rachel's mind raced. The humans had scored a significant victory, but the Dominion wasn't beaten yet. They would return, and they would be more determined than ever to crush humanity's defiance. And this time, they would come prepared. Back on Earth, the survivors celebrated their hard-won victory, but Rachel and her team knew better. They had learned from experience that victory was fleeting, and the Thar had a way of striking when least expected. The galaxy was filled with powerful and ancient civilizations, many of whom viewed humanity as little more than ants, scurrying beneath their feet. The Thar were the most advanced, but not the only threat to Earth. Rachel convened a council of Earth's most brilliant minds, military strategists, scientists, engineers, and diplomats. They needed to prepare for the inevitable counterattack and also find a way to ensure the survival of humanity in the long term. But the task was overwhelming. Earth was still recovering from the devastation of the previous battles, and resources were scarce. What they lacked in technology, they made up for with ingenuity and determination. The most immediate challenge was the Thar's ability to regroup. Even though their fleet had been temporarily halted, the Dominion's reach was vast. Ships were already on their way to Earth from distant sectors, and with their formidable technology, they could arrive at any moment. Rachel knew that they needed to strike first, to disrupt the Dominion's plans before they could solidify their hold on the galaxy. The key to victory lay in the one thing humanity had that the Thar didn't, their unpredictability. The Thar were precise, calculating, and efficient in everything they did. They relied on data, algorithms, and advanced intelligence to make decisions. But the humans, as they had already proven, were something entirely different. They didn't rely solely on data. They relied on intuition, creativity, and the ability to think outside the box. The Thar's rigid, systematic approach was their weakness, and it was a weakness humanity would exploit. Rachel's team began formulating a plan, one that would force the Thar into a position where they had to think like humans. The plan was audacious, almost reckless, but it had one vital element that made it the only choice. It would take the fight to the heart of the Thar Dominion, deep within their territory. Using Earth's advanced reverse-engineered technology, the humans began constructing stealth vessels capable of infiltrating Thar-controlled space. These ships would not be able to defeat the Dominion outright, but they would serve as a powerful distraction, sowing chaos in the Thar's most crucial systems. The key to their success would be their ability to strike swiftly, disrupt communication lines, sabotage their supply depots, and leave before the enemy could mount a coordinated defense. Rachel and her team knew the risks. If their ships were detected, it would be the end. The Thar's retaliation would be swift, and Earth would be unable to withstand another full-scale assault. Yet, the humans were resolute. They had no choice. This was their only opportunity to take the fight to the Dominion and weaken their grip on the galaxy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, ordinary citizens had not forgotten the horrors they had endured. Though the cities had been ravaged, and much of the world was still in a state of recovery, the human spirit had only grown stronger. People across the globe, from every nation and background, began to organize themselves into militias, defense groups, and resistance cells. The message was clear: Earth's warriors would not go down quietly. The fight for survival had ignited a new sense of unity, and humanity was ready to stand together against whatever the Thar could throw at them. The world had changed since the first days of the invasion. Earth was no longer just a planet struggling to survive in the vastness of space. It had become a symbol, a beacon of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Humanity's resilience had inspired countless other worlds to rise up, to fight back against their own oppressors, and to join in the battle for freedom. But the most important change had been within humanity itself. Earth's warriors had discovered an untapped well of strength, a bond forged in the fires of desperation. And now, they were more than just a scattered group of resistance fighters. They were an unstoppable force, unified by a singular purpose: to protect their home, to fight for their future, and to show the galaxy what true power looked like. As the first wave of stealth ships left Earth's atmosphere, Rachel stood on the command deck of one of the vessels, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. The stars seemed to shimmer with a new sense of possibility. Earth's warriors were about to make their mark on the galaxy in a way that would change it forever. The unseen power of Earth's warriors had only just begun to show its true potential. The stealth ships, armed with cutting-edge technology and the will of Earth's united people, cut through the galaxy's vast void like shadows. They were small, inconspicuous, and barely detectable by the Thar's vast sensor networks. The ships, equipped with the best of Earth's repurposed technology, had been designed specifically to exploit the Thar's greatest weakness: their reliance on predictable, systematic operations. As Rachel and her team piloted one of these ships, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the responsibility resting on her shoulders. This mission was more than just a tactical strike, it was humanity's declaration to the galaxy that they would not be subjugated. It was a bold statement that would ripple through the universe and shake the foundations of galactic empires who had once looked at Earth with disdain. Their first target was a Thar supply depot located on a barren moon in the outer rim of Thar-controlled space. The depot was a logistical hub that supported several key operations in the Dominion's efforts to maintain their dominance over neighboring systems. Its destruction would cripple the Thar's ability to wage war on multiple fronts and send a message that Earth was not just defending itself but taking the fight to them. The humans knew that getting in undetected was only the first hurdle. Once inside, they would have to plant explosives, disable key systems, and then evacuate before the Thar forces could mobilize. The plan had been meticulously calculated, and despite the overwhelming risks, there was an air of anticipation among the crew. This was what they had trained for, the moment that would turn the tide of the war. Rachel's ship, named the Ghost, slipped into the Thar-controlled sector undetected, moving like a whisper in the void. The crew of the Ghost was a mix of humanity's finest, each with a role to play. Engineers worked quickly to set up disruptors on key power sources while soldiers prepared for potential firefights if the Thar discovered them before the mission was complete. In the distance, the supply depot came into view, an industrial complex covered in the cold steel of Thar construction, with automated defense systems scattered around the moon's surface. With one final look at the depot, Rachel nodded to her team, and they moved into action. The humans worked in perfect synchrony, planting explosives on critical infrastructure and hacking into the Thar's defense systems. They disabled the moon's energy shield, leaving the Thar vulnerable to the explosion that would follow. Time was running out. As the explosives were set, a wave of dread surged through Rachel's chest. They were on borrowed time. Even with their stealth technology, there was no guarantee they could escape unscathed if they were detected. Then it happened. A Thar scout ship, seemingly oblivious to the infiltrators, passed close enough to detect the anomaly in their shield readings. The ship's sensors began to register the sudden power surge, and its crew immediately began broadcasting a warning. The sound of the warning echoed in Rachel's ears, and she felt her heart race. They had only minutes to complete the mission and get out. Status. Rachel barked, her voice sharp with urgency. Explosives are set, reported Lieutenant Harris, the demolition expert. We just need to hit the detonation button and get the hell out of here. Do it, Rachel commanded. I'll cover the rear. As Harris pressed the button, a low hum reverberated through the ship, and then, suddenly, the depot erupted. The explosion was far beyond anything Rachel had anticipated. The depot disintegrated in a massive flash of light, sending shockwaves through the moon's surface. The Thar's infrastructure collapsed, and massive plumes of smoke and debris shot up into the vacuum of space. But the humans had no time to admire their handiwork. The Thar were coming. "Enemy vessels inbound," shouted Lieutenant Tanaka, the ship's weapons officer. "They'll be on us in less than a minute." "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Rachel ordered. "Engage cloak, now." The Ghost activated its cloaking device just in time to avoid the Thar's first pass, but Rachel could feel the tension in the air as the enemy ship circled, trying to detect the humans' position. The Thar weren't idiots. They had learned from past encounters and knew that humanity's guerrilla tactics would strike when least expected. The hunt was on. Rachel's hands gripped the controls tightly. She could hear the frantic beeping of the sensors, indicating that the Thar were getting closer. The cloaking technology of the human ships was impressive, but the Thar were relentless and well-equipped. Rachel knew that staying invisible for too long would give them away, and they needed to leave before the Thar could triangulate their position. "Brace for impact," Tanaka shouted as a Thar fighter broke through their cloaking field and launched a missile. The blast shook the Ghost, throwing everyone off balance for a split second. Rachel took control, weaving the ship in unpredictable directions, utilizing every trick Earth had learned about space combat. The Thar were fast, but Rachel was faster. She had no choice but to outmaneuver them and lead them into the asteroid field ahead, a place where their superior technology would become less of an advantage. With a final burst of speed, the Ghost veered sharply into the asteroid field, dodging laser fire and missiles as the Thar ships struggled to follow. The massive rocks and debris blocked the enemy's line of sight, providing Rachel and her crew with the cover they needed. It was a gamble, but it worked. The Thar ships, unable to adjust their trajectory quickly enough in the dense field, were forced to abandon the chase. Minutes later, the humans had escaped, the Thar in hot pursuit, but no longer in striking distance. Their victory was fleeting, but the message was loud and clear: humanity would fight back. This small, audacious mission was just the beginning of the larger war to come. As they returned to their base on the outskirts of Earth's orbit, Rachel stood on the bridge, staring out into the stars. The mission had been a success, but the fight for Earth's freedom was far from over. The Thar would regroup, and the galaxy would watch closely. But Rachel had learned something in these few short days: Earth's warriors were no longer the underdogs. They had just shown the galaxy what they were capable of, and the universe would never forget the unseen power of Earth's warriors. The success of their strike against the Thar supply depot sent ripples across the galaxy, but it wasn't long before the repercussions of the mission made themselves felt. The Dominion was furious. Despite their advanced technology, they had underestimated humanity's ability to strike back. The Thar, known for their cold, calculated nature, were not used to unpredictability, and the attack on their supply depot was a wake-up call. The war had escalated, and the Thar were now fully aware that Earth's warriors were not to be underestimated. Commander Rachel Vance sat in the command center of Earth's newly established war headquarters, surrounded by her team. Their success had proven humanity's resilience, but it had also ignited a dangerous chain of events. The Thar were not ones to forgive such an insult, and it was clear they were preparing for retaliation on a scale humanity had never faced before. "We've hit them where it hurts," Rachel said, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of urgency. "But now we need to prepare for what's coming next. We've proven we can disrupt them, but we're still outnumbered. Their fleets are massive, and the Dominion won't rest until they've wiped us out." Her team nodded grimly. Each of them had seen the cost of the fight firsthand. The war had left scars on them all, both physical and emotional. But they were also stronger for it. They had come together in ways no one could have predicted, forming a bond that would make them an unstoppable force. "Scouts have confirmed," said Lieutenant Tanaka, "the Thar are massing their forces. We've intercepted transmissions indicating that they're sending reinforcements from multiple sectors. They're preparing a full-scale assault." Rachel's mind raced. Earth's forces were growing, but they were still far from a match for the Dominion's might. The Thar could throw hundreds of ships into battle without breaking a sweat, and every day that passed brought humanity closer to an all-out war that could devastate the planet. We don't have the resources to fight them head-on, Rachel mused, pacing back and forth. We need to hit them where they least expect it. We need a strategy that doesn't just take them on directly but weakens their entire structure. Her team was silent, each person considering the gravity of her words. The Thar were not just an enemy, they were a force that had conquered and enslaved countless species. To defeat them, humanity had to think beyond conventional tactics. I think I have an idea, said Dr. Lorna Hayes, Earth's top scientist and strategist. The Thar's greatest strength is their network. Their entire empire is built on interconnected systems, communication, resource allocation, military coordination. If we can break their network, their entire structure will collapse. It won't destroy them, but it will give us the leverage we need to strike hard and fast. Rachel's eyes narrowed, intrigued by the plan. You're talking about taking out their communication systems and resource hubs? Exactly, Lorna confirmed. Their empire is only as strong as the cohesion of its parts. If we hit their communications, their ability to coordinate massive fleets will be severely impaired. If we take out key resource hubs, they'll be forced to divert ships and troops just to maintain their supply lines. The plan was risky, but it was the kind of strike humanity needed to make. It would create chaos within the Dominion, leaving them vulnerable to a more direct assault. We'll need more than just stealth ships, Rachel said. We need the best tech we have and the most precise operatives. Every move will need to be calculated. The mission was set in motion, and Earth's warriors, equipped with the finest technology and backed by the determination to protect their home, began assembling the necessary forces. As they readied themselves for their next operation, Rachel couldn't help but feel the weight of what was to come. The Thar were ruthless, and this strike would not go unnoticed. They would retaliate, no matter how successful the mission was. But Rachel's resolve remained unshaken. She walked to the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Humanity had come so far, and this was the moment to prove that they weren't just a small, insignificant species in the galaxy. They had earned their place among the stars, and now they would defend it at all costs. The plan was set, and the operation began. Teams of operatives, led by Earth's finest, embarked on daring missions to infiltrate key Thar strongholds. They struck at communications outposts, sabotage hubs, and critical infrastructure, leaving a trail of destruction and confusion in their wake. The Thar, struggling to maintain control of their empire, scrambled to reorganize. Each successful strike took a piece of their foundation away, and with each piece that fell, humanity's resolve grew stronger. Meanwhile, Rachel led a high-risk mission to one of the Thar's most critical resource hubs, a massive refinery located on a barren planet deep within their territory. The refinery provided the Dominion with vital materials needed to maintain their war effort. If they could destroy it, the Thar would be forced to halt production, slowing down their entire military machine. The mission was grueling. The humans infiltrated the refinery under the cover of darkness, using advanced camouflage and silent tactics to avoid detection. Once inside, they planted the explosives and disabled key security systems. But as they prepared to leave, disaster struck. A patrol of Thar soldiers arrived, and the humans were forced into a brutal firefight. Rachel's heart pounded as she led the charge, her team fighting with everything they had to complete the mission. The refinery shook as the explosives detonated, sending a massive shockwave through the facility. But the humans were barely able to escape as Thar forces closed in on their position. The mission was a success, but the cost was high. The humans had destroyed a key resource hub, but the Thar would not let this insult go unpunished. As the team retreated to the extraction point, they were met by a new enemy. A massive Thar fleet had arrived, and they were ready for war. The battle for Earth's survival had entered a new phase. The Dominion's wrath had been ignited, and the fate of the galaxy would depend on humanity's ability to hold its ground and fight back. Earth's warriors had taken the first step toward victory, but the road ahead would be fraught with peril. The true test of their strength, their resilience, and their will to survive was just beginning. The battle for Earth's survival had reached a critical juncture. With the destruction of the Thar's vital resource hub and their communication networks in disarray, the Dominion had been thrown into chaos. But the price of success was high. Earth's warriors were now directly in the crosshairs of the Thar's full military might. The Dominion, enraged by humanity's defiance, had deployed their most elite forces, prepared to crush the upstart species once and for all. Commander Rachel Vance stood at the helm of the flagship Phoenix, a ship that had been retrofitted with Earth's finest weapons and defenses. The crew was battle-worn but determined. They had fought for every inch of progress they had made, and now, they were preparing for the most important battle of their lives. The Thar were coming, and this time, there would be no retreat. The Thar are approaching at full speed, Lieutenant Tanaka reported, his voice calm but laced with tension. They've dispatched a full assault fleet. It's going to be a fight to the death. Rachel's eyes narrowed as she stared at the holographic map of the battlefield. The Thar fleet was formidable, dozens of warships, each one bristling with advanced weaponry, forming a massive armada that could obliterate Earth in a matter of hours. But they had one advantage, the Thar's reliance on systematic, predictable tactics. Earth's forces, though smaller, were more agile and flexible, and they had learned to use the terrain and their limited resources to their advantage. Status of our defenses? Rachel asked. We've fortified the orbital defense platforms, said Lieutenant Harris, and the stealth ships are in position. But we'll need to be precise. We can't afford to let the Thar control the engagement. Our forces need to strike quickly and disrupt their formation. Rachel nodded. They had only one chance to turn the tide. If they could force the Thar into disarray, there was a chance they could break their assault. The Thar were methodical, but that was also their greatest flaw. Earth's warriors had proved that they could think beyond conventional warfare, and now was the time to apply that ingenuity in full force. All ships, engage cloaking, Rachel commanded. We'll strike from the shadows. The human fleet activated their cloaking devices, becoming invisible to the Thar sensors. The battle began with a tense silence, each side moving into position, waiting for the first move. The Thar, unaware of the human presence, maintained their slow advance, confident in their overwhelming power. Then, Earth's forces struck. A series of well-coordinated attacks rained down on the Thar fleet. Stealth ships emerged from the shadows, launching precise missile strikes on key Thar vessels. Each hit was calculated to cause maximum disruption, targeting communication arrays, propulsion systems, and weapon platforms. The Thar ships shuddered, their coordination faltering as Earth's forces struck swiftly and with deadly intent. For a moment, it seemed as though the humans had the upper hand. The Thar were forced into a defensive posture, scrambling to adapt to the unpredictable tactics of their enemies. Their warships fired in random directions, trying to regain control, but Earth's fleet danced around them like a swarm of bees, striking when and where it hurt the most. It was chaos, a far cry from the Thar's usual disciplined warfare. However, the Thar were nothing if not resilient. They quickly adapted, reprogramming their systems to counter Earth's tactics. Their superior technology began to give them the edge as they re-established communication lines and coordinated their movements with brutal efficiency. We can't keep this up forever, Tanaka warned. They're starting to adapt. We need to hit them with something bigger. Rachel's mind raced. They had one more ace to play, the Phoenix's experimental superweapon, a weapon that had been in development for months. It was a long-range energy cannon designed to unleash devastating blasts of concentrated plasma capable of penetrating even the toughest Thar defenses. It was humanity's trump card, and now was the time to use it. Bring the superweapon online, Rachel ordered. Target the lead Thar flagship. The Phoenix charged its superweapon, the hum of power filling the ship's corridors. The Thar fleet was closing in, their weapons locking onto the human ships. The final battle was about to begin, and the Thar knew that they could not afford to lose this fight. But neither could humanity. With a deafening roar, the Phoenix unleashed its superweapon. A brilliant beam of concentrated plasma surged forward, cutting through the void like a sword through fabric. The Thar flagship, the heart of their fleet, was caught in the beam's path. The flagship's shields flared, struggling to hold against the immense power, but it was no match for the raw might of humanity's weapon. The flagship's hull cracked and split apart, its engines exploding in a fiery burst of energy. The destruction of the flagship sent shockwaves through the Thar fleet. Their command structure was shattered, and without their leadership, they faltered. Ships collided, weapons fire went astray, and the once organized assault turned into a frantic scramble for survival. Rachel knew that this moment would determine the outcome. The Thar were still formidable, but they were no longer a unified force. Humanity's forces pressed the advantage, taking down Thar ship after ship with precision and speed. The once proud fleet was now in disarray, their war effort on the brink of collapse. In the final moments of the battle, the remaining Thar ships attempted a desperate retreat, but Earth's warriors were relentless. The Phoenix led the charge, taking down the last of the Thar vessels as they tried to flee. The battle was over. As the dust settled and the remnants of the Thar fleet drifted through space, Rachel stood at the command center, her breath coming in heavy bursts. The victory was hard-won, and the cost had been great. But humanity had proven something undeniable that day: they were no longer the underdogs. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Thar had underestimated Earth's warriors, and that mistake had cost them everything. The Dominion's grip on the galaxy had been shattered, and Earth had emerged victorious. The message was clear: humanity would never bow to anyone, not the Thar, nor any other empire that sought to dominate them. Earth's warriors had unlocked their true power, and the galaxy would never forget their courage, resilience, and defiance. The unseen power of Earth's warriors had shaken the stars themselves, and a new era had begun.